From the land of conjurers flying through the internet to your device like a UAP, hauntingly unexplained and downright weird, this is the Witching Hours, and we are ready to take off in the flash of an eye. Good evening to one and all, wherever and whenever you are listening to this program. I am John of the Frost, and joining me, as always, is the medium Jenny Lee. How are you doing, Jenny?
I'm here and I'm awake, and that's good. This is good
Yeah.
stuff.
Are you warm? That's one question.
It's a little cold in here. I did not turn the heat on early enough in this room, but
And
it'll get there.
this room is kind of usually like the warmest kind of center of the home, and it's pretty chilly in here tonight
Yeah.
too. So.
Yeah.
The second question is, you want to get weird?
Of course.
All right. I think we're going to get really weird tonight. I'm really looking for
Yes.
the show tonight. There's been a lot of stuff we've been talking about on the show that I feel like tonight will be a good way to maybe get into those topics.
Yeah.
And get some other perspectives and other ideas of some of these things we've been talking about, because there's a whole lot of really weird things going on. And 2025 is just getting more and more weird. I mean, if you thought 2020, it all started with 2020, right? And it just seems like it keeps getting weirder and weirder. And then 2025 is like
fantastic start of 2025.
Yeah, and I think some of you guys, knew that things were going to get weirder.
I mean, the prediction
in my brain, I was like, things are eventually going to get back to normal. Like we'll get back to some normalcy where I recognize the world, but that doesn't seem to be happening. So we're going to talk about that tonight.
Yeah.
Welcome in everybody. So glad to have you here, all the team weird, wherever you are. Welcome in. I see a whole bunch of friendly faces tonight. Hoaxsters, CMC, Keisha, Shadow Max. Welcome in. We always love seeing everybody in here, and thank you for coming. Norsk, thank you for coming and hanging out this tonight. And remember, as always, questions are welcome. So as this show goes along, especially when we get into that last hour, you can ask before, but definitely in that last hour, if you have questions as the night goes on, make sure you jot it down and keep it in your memory as we go along. We'll make sure we get those questions to our guests tonight. I do want to update everybody on our upcoming schedule. Me and Jenny were just talking about this before the show. Next week, we're going to have on Barbara Worsley, which was recommended by Lou. So we're going to talk about spirituality and dragons next week. We have Charlie Raymond coming on the 30th of January to talk about Bigfoot and his recent recordings. We're going to have Tarot Mama on the 6th of February. And on the 13th, we're going to have the return of Preston Dennett.
Yeah.
So we're going to have Preston back on to talk about ET encounters, UFO abductions, and all those kinds of things. So we got more and more coming, and we're really excited about some of the shows we have coming up. Quick note, I'm not going to spend a lot of time on it, but the Team Weird Takeover that we have planned for June is still happening. Tickets are not there yet. I have been trying to get a hold of my contact over there at Lake Shawnee. And as soon as I do that, we will get tickets on sale, and we'll set a day for those to go on sale. So that is coming. We were hoping to have them on sale already, but it was just a little bit of a delay. So we have that coming. The next thing I wanted to share with you guys before we get started tonight is one of the wonderful Christmas presents I got.
Yeah.
I didn't get to show. I haven't shown it off, and it's gonna. Well, I'll show you guys right here. We have a Witching Hours sign to put up on the wall behind us there.
With a cow getting
a little cow UFO with the mountains back there. So that's going to go on the wonderful wall. I think I'm going to hang it right where I have my horn back there.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And then I'll move my horn over somewhere else. So we'll have the Witching Hours sign back there on the wall. So I wanted to showcase that Christmas gift. So there we go. Yeah, poor cow. All right. Is there anything else you want to talk about, Jenny, before we get going with the news? Are you ready to get into
ready for the news?
All right. All right. So first article tonight is the FDA bans red number 3, artificial coloring used in beverages, candy, and other foods. The Food and Drug Administration said Wednesday it's banning the use of red number 3, a synthetic dye that gives food and drinks their bright red cherry color, but it's been linked to cancer.
Yep, they just
The
said to
dye
keep
is
on going. There's a
the
whole
dye,
list of
yeah,
things. Just okay, what's next? Keep going, guys.
yeah. Well, and if you read, not that the comments on social media are always the place for fruitful information, but I mean, that's kind of been the reaction that I've seen from a lot of people. Okay, so what about
Yeah,
blue
let's keep
whatever
going.
and
There's
yellow
a whole
whatever?
list.
um, the dye is still used in thousands of food, including candy, cereals, cherries, and fruit cocktails, strawberry flavored milkshakes. According to the Center for Science and Public Interest, a food safety advocacy group that petitioned the agency in 2022 to end its use, more than 9,200 food items contain the dye, including hundreds of
Whew.
products made by large food companies. The FDA is not prohibiting other artificial dyes, including red number 40, which has also been linked to behavioral issues in children.
Yeah.
The FDA's decision is a victory for consumer advocacy groups and U.S. lawmakers who have long urged to revoke red number 3's approval, citing ample evidence that its use in beverages, dietary supplements, cereals, and candies may cause cancer as well as affect children's behavior.
Mm.
Food manufacturers will have until January 15th, 2027, so 2 years to reformulate their products. Companies that make ingested drugs, such as dietary supplements, will get an additional year, so that'll be 2028.
Yep, just keep going. Keep going, FDA.
And I'm only expecting some more of that with RFK Jr. kind of heading up some of
Yeah.
the food stuff. And I don't know. I'm not a doctor. And I don't even play one on TV. I don't even play one on a podcast. But I do. So I don't know if everything that he's going after is legitimately
Yeah.
worrisome or not. But we're probably due for a little bit of an overcorrection
You
at this
think?
point. Like, so we'll see where that goes in the
Has
coming year.
to.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mm.
So red number 3 gone. Let us know if you're in favor of that or not. I don't. I only know what I read. So, story number 2 tonight. Nightmare, your dreams are for sale and companies are already buying. We talked about this just a little bit ago, the
Oh no.
implications. But well, this is kind of a change on that, but a new study
Okay.
reveals that 54% of young Americans report experiencing dreams influenced by ads. And some companies might be doing it intentionally. The findings come at a critical time as the
Mm.
American Marketing Association previously reported that 77% of companies surveyed in 2021 expressed intentions to experiment with dream ads by this year.
I was joking about that when
I know.
that's when this story came up like months ago. But I knew
Um,
that's where it was headed.
yeah, well, I mean, that's where it's always headed.
Ay, ay, ay. Get your
What was
tinfoil hats, people. Start folding them. Start folding them right now.
I know. What
I don't
was
want
once
your
because
damn McDonald's ad in my dream, thanks.
I'm loving it. Yeah. Like, man, I really want some wake up, want
Yeah.
some, yeah, I don't know. What was once considered science fiction may now becoming reality with major implications for consumer protection and marketing ethics. According to the Media Image's newly released consumer survey focusing on Gen Z and millennials, 54% of Americans aged 18 to 35 have reported having experienced dreams that appear to be influenced by advertisements or contained ad-like content. Even more striking, 61% of respondents reports having such dreams within the past year, with
Mm,
38% experiencing them regularly, ranging from daily occurrences to monthly episodes.
mm,
Conducted on behalf of the Media Image between January 2nd and 3rd, 2025, the research included a representative sample of 1,100 American respondents, while the same sample skewed slightly female, 62% in the survey were female. The findings are considered reflective of a broader perspective within this age group. So the presence of major brands and dreams appears to be particularly prevalent, with 48% of young Americans reporting encounters with well-known companies such as Coca-Cola, Apple, and McDonald's.
yep.
Harvard experts suggest this may be due to memory reactivation during sleep or frequent exposure to brands in daily life.
I mean, we're
Likelihood of
bombarded
appearing in
by it all day
dreams.
long, every day. No matter where
Yeah.
you turn, it's everywhere.
Perhaps most troubling is the apparent willingness of many consumers to accept this new frontier of advertising. Now, this is where it gets crazy. The survey found that 41%, I mean, damn near half of respondents would be open to seeing ads in their dreams if it meant receiving discounts on products or services.
Y'all got a sale? Give me your ad. Give me your dream ad.
I get a buy one, get one free sausage biscuit. Put that ad in my dream.
Come
This
on,
raises
Marty.
serious ethical questions about the commercialization of human consciousness and the potential
Oh, goodness.
exploitation of vulnerable mental states for marketing purposes.
Ay, ay, ay.
I mean, well, first off, I think the first thing I wanted to say about this article is me and you have been discussing pretty much every time we have an evening together that I thought we had entered this epoch, this new wonderful time of less ads, less viewing ads. And while ads were very prevalent online, I had control over what I saw much more than what I used to have. And I would say within the last 2 years, that has completely
Yeah.
shifted the other way.
Yeah.
And it is just a continuous bombardment of ads
Mhm.
with streaming television. We were watching Disney earlier. We finished the last episode of Skeleton Crew. And I mean, we've stopped paying the astronomical prices and we've taken the versions that have ads that save
Yeah.
money. But the ads have become almost to the point that it makes it unwatchable. Like it's more ads than it was back in the days of like old school television.
Well, I think one of the other issues is that television television shows were built to have ads in them.
Mhm.
So it would, like, leave you at a space at a time at a time in the
Yeah,
story, and then it would bring you right back, where the shows now are not built like that. So, like, there's this crazy major thing happening, and all of a sudden, there's an add-on for,
yeah,
some, progressive or whatever.
yeah. And I just feel like, talking about this
Very
story
just
specifically,
it's very disruptive to the storytelling.
we really are just getting bombarded with ads.
Yeah.
And I don't think, I mean, obviously a lot of people realize it. I think a lot of people don't realize how much we're being bombarded with ads. But this is really interesting because
Now we're gonna be dreaming about them
we see them in our
too.
sleep. And then the whole thing about 41% saying that it was cool to have them in their dreams if they got a discount. Um, Starbucks coffee. Enjoy, I guess.
Toasters
Um,
is looking for a 97%
a
off.
90% off
That's
deal, and then they
acceptable.
can go in your dreams, hoaxers,
Yeah.
once they
Ay, ay, ay.
Okay, story number 3, Ricky Lake's house burning down in LA fire was predicted by psychic Tyler Henry.
No
So,
way.
of course, there's been, lots and lots and lots going on out in Los Angeles, and we just hope the best for everyone, the as best as possible. You know how that stuff goes.
Yeah.
Um, but I thought this was interesting because there was actually a show where that Ricky Lake had posted about recently, and she put the clip online of Tyler Henry talking about a
Wow.
home possibly being damaged by fire and water.
Wow.
And so that was put on there today. So I thought I would share that. That show is on uh, parts of it on Netflix, live from the other side with Tyler Henry. You can go and check that out and see that prediction in that
Mm,
medium reading for your own. Um, and good news about that, I guess I wanted to say, I saw today that the winds started dying down,
that's good.
and they are able to start getting good containment of some of those fires. They're not gone; it's not over,
Mm,
but they are getting containment, and they are actually making. It seemed like today they were making quite a bit of headway from the stories that I saw. So, once again, wishing for nothing but the quickest of recovery and everything for the people who are affected by that. Story number 4, a rare alignment of 7 planets is about to take place in the sky. We were talking about that with
Yeah.
Allison on the evening of 28th of February. All 7 of the other planets in the solar system will appear in the night sky at the same time, with Saturn, Mercury, Neptune, Venus, Uranus, Jupiter, and Mars all lining up in a neat row, a magnificent sky feast for the eyes known as a great planetary alignment. But that's not all. Between now and
It's
then,
the conjunction.
on the 21st of January 2025, so just about a week from now, 6 of the 7 other planets will appear in the sky at once in a large alignment: Mars, Jupiter, Uranus, Neptune, Venus, and Saturn, with the exception of Mercury. It's not uncommon for a few planets to be on the same side of the sun at the same time, but it's less common for most or even all of the planets to align. Any number of planets from 3 to 8 constitutes an alignment. 5 or 6 planets assembling is known as a large alignment, with 5 planet alignments significantly more frequent than 6. 7 planet great alignments are, of
Is
course,
that the Yahtzee?
the rarest of all. Yeah.
It's the
The
Yahtzee of alignment.
great, yeah,
Great
great
Yahtzee in the
alignment.
sky.
So, February 28th, if you have a chance, put it on your calendar. Make
I
sure you go out and
hope
see it.
the skies are clear that night for everybody.
Maybe we'll get a live stream from Allison that night or something.
Oh, that'd be
So
cool.
we'll see what happens.
Yeah.
And that was the news.
All right.
In your dreams or out of it. All right.
Weird news in your dreams. I'm working on that.
There you go. James Rink is an author, researcher, video producer, and meditation practitioner. He is a product of the Project Surrogate and the Ultra MK MyLab Super Soldier program. His 15-year-old YouTube channel and Rumble channel interview experiencers of covert brainwashing, trauma, and military abduction programming within the secret space program. His book Lone Wolf chronicles these projects. As a meditation practitioner, his company neologicaltech.com produces a quantum meditation device which is based on sacred geometry and acts as a chi energizer that helps users focus, relax, and amplify during meditation so that they can integrate themselves to a higher dimension. He has also produced a video, Change is on the Horizon, which is a 3-hour video documentary that went worldwide with millions of views, covering a variety of topics delving into banking, finance, constitutional law, and the National Economic Security and Reformation Act. Please welcome to the program, James Rink. How are you doing, James?
I'm doing great. Thanks for allowing me to come on here today. I know it's been a little difficult road because my father broke his hip and I've been taking care of him, so I wasn't able to come on in this past autumn. But here I am, and so thank you for allowing me to come on here and share the secret space program, I guess you say, agenda.
Is your father doing better?
Yeah, he's walking around with a cane, and
that's good.
Yeah, so he hasn't driven in 5 months, but hopefully that would be the next step.
Yeah. Well, we're glad to have you on now.
Continuing recovery. Well, things tend to happen for a reason, James, and I think it did this time because things have been going crazy lately. And so when we were going to have you on the show this time, is like the last couple of weeks when the news was coming out, I was like, oh, well, we're going to have James on in a couple of weeks. We need to ask him about this. Because there's just lots of things going on. And like I was telling you a little bit before the show, we've had lots of different topics on the show, but we haven't really gotten into kind of like the black government yet and kind of what's going on with those kinds of things. So I guess let's start tonight a little bit with what we talked about in your bio, kind of your background and a little, I guess, explanation of Project Surrogate and the Ultra MK military abduction program and things like that. What exactly are those things?
Absolutely. So a super soldier is someone that is utilized over and over in these projects compared to a sacrificial lamb, which is usually expendable. So in these projects relating to not just here on this planet, but off-world, typically a super soldier would have been cloned and genetically enhanced. They would be placed in what is called a trip chair. And the actual, the name of the lab where they would is called a neolab. So, excuse me. I've been kind of under the weather for the past couple of days, so I've got my water here. But let's see here. So yeah, you wanted to know about a super soldier or the secret space program?
Well, let's talk about the super soldier the first. The kind of we'll kind of work our way into what that entails.
Okay, so now it's going to be hard to explain about a super soldier program without explaining about the secret space program, but I'll do my
They're
best.
integrated. Yeah.
So there are a variety of planetary corporations, private military contractors, and even the U.S. government utilizes super soldiers. But typically, DARPA would have the least amount of technology. They're given the crumbs there. But
Okay.
so we have Kruger, which is a Kruger Mercenary Corps founded by Gabriel Kruger. Kruger originated in another alternate timeline where the Germans won World War II. So they have access to portal technology and they have a facility on the moon. I don't know if they have any facilities, probably in Antarctica. Another planetary corporation would be Monarch Solutions. So Monarch is based below the area of Toronto. They have an underground facility that stretches out about 150 miles. So it's headed by Paul Serene. His clone in this reality is the actor Kevin Spacey. So they made a deal with the U.S. government. Well, it wasn't in the government, the Continental Army, to help us win the Revolutionary War. But on the other hand, they're involved with pretty much everything that's wrong on this planet. With, I don't want to get your channel banned, but sex trafficking kind of thing, and so on, human, so on. Okay, so let's see here. So another planetary corporation, we would go with Umbrella Corporation. So Umbrella has a facility here, underground facility located underneath Thailand, but they share variety of different VIRUS. Is this going on YouTube?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and I don't care. Wait, I'll be honest with you. I mean, at this point, getting my channel banned would do nothing but bring me clout. So, I mean, you know what I mean? Like, it is what it is. The truth will set you free, I guess, is, the way I look at it. I'm going to slow down a little bit here. So right off the bat here, because I said I know a little bit about this topic, but this is this is a little bit different than we've had on the show. So I just want to go right off the bat here. We're talking about alternate timelines, alternate dimensions, I'm guessing here. And so we're talking about ET. We're talking about alternate dimensions. We're talking about cloning.
Humans.
Okay. And so this is all being done. So when we're talking about these super soldiers, are these super soldiers intended to work primarily in Earth or primarily in space?
That's a very good question. Now, there are some that are utilized in different Black Ops Inc., particularly like Ukraine or in Iraq and Israel as well, Mossad. But as well as off-world, we have an organization known as Dark Fleet or Nachtwaffen, and they existed about 5,000 years ago and made a merger with the German NAZI. So NASI was a Jewish leader. I'm sorry. I was just talking about this last night with Gene Decode. But okay, I'm going around here. So yes, typically there's a lot of security that's needed out there, cleaning out facilities, rescues, or taking over worlds. So unfortunately, there's if there's always a problem, there's always a need of a super soldier as well as as a cop. So, but nobody really wants one until you need it, right? But anyway, but typically the super soldiers are usually utilized for negative, nefarious purposes for the various planetary corporations that own their genetic sample, their clone. But there are positive, more neutral, more positive groups. I talk about the Alpha Squad. So the Halo, video game series and also movie. Well, is it movie? Yeah, TV. Yeah, well, there are movies, but TV show was primarily based on the Alpha Squad. So it started off with a group of, or a super soldier that would have been slated for extermination. They would have rebelled, refused to follow commands that would um, hurt, potentially hurt someone. In that case, and then other super soldiers rebelled, and then they escaped, and then they set up this organization called Alpha Squad. So my call sign is Agent Sabretooth in the Alpha Squad. Now the Alpha Squad right now is only a few members, so in the future, potentially thousands of people join Alpha Squad, and then we have that whole Halo timeline. So,
all right. So I guess one thing I'd like to get to real quick, and we're starting to get some questions in chat, that we'll get to them. I see them. Thank you guys so much for the questions. So kind of going with your personal experience on that, was this something that like happened before? Have you had were you fully cognizant of this the whole time, or is this something where like you became quote unquote like deactivated and then had some kind, like how did that work for you?
Oh yeah, so that NATO countries, that was all the countries that are involved in these programs. So okay, so you want to know my starting point?
Yes.
Okay, so now this story is very weird. Are you sure you can handle this? Okay.
James,
audience members,
we've been talking to you for like 10 minutes and it's been real weird. So I think we're good.
We also, all of our people in here, we call team weird. So
team
I don't
weird,
know if we can get, I don't know if we can get too weird. Yeah. So,
okay.
Yeah.
All right. So, all right. Because, I got banned by the health ranger. But anyway. Okay, enough of that. So I started off this would have been 2005. I met somebody over the internet, and this kid, he had rage issues in school, and I'm like, okay, and I moved on in my life. And 8 months later, he contacts me again, says he just got kicked out of school, thrown into juvie, and he said this other guy was trying to hit on his girlfriend, and he knocked the guy out the second floor of the story of the school. So his parents moved into a new house, and this house was they got a real good deal because the previous owner, there was a murder suicide, and that's actually on public record. I have that in my book. The teenager, the parents were away, and he like murdered there was a babysitter there. So no. Okay. And then he committed suicide. So my friend was telling me that this story, and he hears howling outside the window. And so then we discussed a little bit more over the next couple of days or weeks or so about this story about Andy Perot. Does anybody know who Andy Perot is?
I'm not familiar with the name.
Okay. So this would have predated even like Duncan O'Finian. Does anybody here know who Duncan O'Finian is? No. Okay.
No.
I don't think so. No, I don't.
Okay. All right. So, and then there was like, Michael Ralph. That was from the Mars Records. That was even like the early disclosure from the 90s. But back in the early 1999, it was a story. Andy Perot was mentioned that he had super psionic abilities. He could telekinetically phase a pencil through the walls. They were the Nazis were. Oops. Okay. Anyway, were pushing him out the window, or first a ladder, then a window, then a plane to see if he could land, and he would visualize his legs getting stronger. So, and he also mentioned there was a underground dome off the coast of Miami. Anyway, well, okay. So I was telling my friend about this story, and I said, "Hey, why don't you go check this out? It's like, maybe this is why you have some of your superhuman abilities." He said he had telekinesis, enhanced strength, and also there was rage issues. So anyway, in the process of mentioning that, one of his alters came out and tells me that he was taken to a military base and that they placed him on a treadmill to test how fast he can run. And there was also a Dr. Gray that was working on him, and they put implants in his head, explosives. So I said, well, why don't you use your abilities to defend yourself, right? So trying to come up with some good ideas. And I would say about 2 weeks goes by, and he contacts me again. He says that was placed in this white room, and they're deleting all of his memories. I'm like, well, just keep fighting, okay? All right. Another month goes by. He contacts me again, and early that day, someone was following me around the mall, taking my picture, and just I think the guy was part of one of these super soldiers off world, but. Anyway, so the point is I told my friend about this, and he said, yeah, we'll take care of it. And so let's move on here.
Well, I have one question real quick. So,
Yes.
so it's just to kind of Rico, they're, getting in trouble at school, gets put in juvie. From juvie is on a military base under the direction of a
His
doctor
alters.
there, kind of.
His alters, yes, not the civilian.
Okay. And then, so how do you have contact with them at this point?
This was all through the old Yahoo Messenger.
Okay. So he had access. I mean, so he
Yeah.
wasn't like really being imprisoned or anything from the military training?
Not at this point.
Okay. Okay.
All right. So another month goes by, maybe a month and a half. He contacts me again. He said that he destroyed the Gray's monetary system, a series of quantum supercomputers, as well as maybe like 1,200 worlds. It's in my book. It's been a while. Got 12 or 2,400 worlds. Everyone that was involved in this. And then he tells me that I'm one of the Supremes, one of the most powerful beings in the universe. And during my past life, I say, well, in his words, as God, because I believe I was James the First. Put out the Bible, and I like, okay. And he said he was Lucifer. So I said, well, if that's the case, maybe we could stop fighting, because every time we would fight, he said that we would die mortally in combat. And then so at that point, he agrees, and moving on to next week or so, I see this orb moving around in my kitchen downstairs, my parents' kitchen. And I feel this breeze blowing over me, and this air, like a voice, we need your help, blah, blah, we want your help. And I'm like, whatever, go away. So later that night, I go downstairs to close the door. It was like January, right? Or February at this point. And it was drafty. When I go downstairs, this, I think it was a green colored orb, because I was hearing papers moving around off the counter. I'm like, oh no, I'm not dealing with it. And I saw this orb. I was like, I slammed the door. And then I go to sleep, right? And I'm sleeping. I have this sleeping bag because I had this whole thing in my family weren't very supportive of me. Anyway, but the point is, when I woke up in the morning, I had these 3 claw marks down my shoulder. And I'm like, oh, great. And then a couple of days later, I was in the car with my dad, and I touched my ear, and like there's like blood flakes coming off. And like an hour or two later, it was intense pain, and the whole thing was red because they took a scoop mark. So,
okay.
And then I started getting injections. Started off once a week, 2-3 times a week, then every day. And it's been going on ever since. So I don't really check all the time, but so I can explain what that's about, but let me go ahead and continue on here with the story. So, my friend Nate, I talked to him again, and this time it's like, I think it was around April or March. He states that he's in some kind of underground facility holding a power cord, which is he's able to telecommunicate into the internet to send me a message that he's bleeding and that they've captured him, and this would be the last I would hear from him. So soon after that, let's see here, the window in my apartment got broken, car got egged, then the mailbox in my parents' house got broken, and then let's see here. And then I started having this paralysis. So I couldn't move, and I thought maybe they'd put something in my water or my food. I'd say whoever's injecting me. And I called the poison control. They said they can't help you unless they send it, do 911. I'm like, oh, anyway, so I did that. That was my learning lesson, that we can't trust any of those people. So they put me in the psych ward for 3 weeks. And I had to tell them that the medication was making me feel good, and I was getting injection marks. So at that point, I realized, yeah, this whole system is messed up. But anyway, so I get out, $25,000 bill, and my family doesn't want to hear about my experiences. They don't want to know about the injection mark, and no, I have really no friends that really care about any of this. So I was alone. Yeah. Anyway.
I'm sorry about
long.
that.
Not for
I
long.
know that's not
Not for long.
I know that's not just I'm sorry you had to go through that feeling that way. Just wanted to.
Yeah.
All right. So what was going on is one of my alters was trying to come out and take me over, and that's why I had the paralysis.
Okay.
But at the
So
time,
what is an alter?
very good question. So an alter is a alternate state of consciousness, usually split off through trauma. It's not the only way to make an alter, though. Your soul is holographic in nature, so you can split off a fragment of your own soul and create a memory barrier and create a whole new personality. It's a fragment of yourself, so it would have to be based on what's already there. So typically, these alters would, for my case, would have been placed into a clone body. And this persona here is just only the persona of James, but then I have other clone bodies out there in which I serve, these avatar bodies, the Cybus and Arbus, which I can talk about in my book. But
well, that's actually really interesting, because even though we were talking about completely different things last week, we were talking about this idea of split souls, right, Jenny? We were talking to Rob Guttrow about that. And so that's interesting, because that definitely is something. If you are able to split the soul and certain fragments of the soul are able to stay in different places, then that seems like something that would be completely viable. Yeah, that's interesting.
All right, well, let's go on here. So about a year and a half passes, and I find Nate posting poems about killing women and claiming that he's some beast named Apuka or whatever. And so I reach out to him. I say, hey, where did you go? What happened? And his girlfriend contacts me stating that he doesn't know who you are. So I sent him the chat transcripts, which are now in this book. And I asked, I shared it with her. And then she comes back and said that he made it all up. And that, so I said, okay, well, tell him to contact me stating that he made it all up. And so I get this letter from this Nate Gray character. I'm sorry, maybe it's a Dr. Gray. Hold on, let me look up here. Nate Gray is somebody I've interviewed. Okay, Dr. Let me go. So he signs it as Dr. Gray. I'm trying to find it in my book here. I've got, no, it's not coming up. I felt well. Anyway, so basically, it was stating that there's no evidence in any government logs of mind control existing, and that the evidence you've acquired is private information, and we're watching you. And I'm like, okay. So I wrote him back. Wrote her back, the girlfriend. I was like, well, why is he talking like this? And that's when she told me that she wakes up and she found. She has glass shards in her back, and she has missing time. She said that she saw bottles of embryos in his basement. Well, I think was a Draco ship, because Nate was part of the Draco super soldier programs. And anyway, so at that point, no more contact, and I just move on, right? My friend reached out to Nate and talked to him, and Nate said that he was getting heavily targeted, so he had to move on. But I think he's just being controlled. So anyway, but they're not going to control me, right? So I go ahead and put a book together to share my experiences, and then I set up a network to help other people like me who have had experiences as Super Soldier Talks, name of my channel, but we sometimes go into other topics as well. I mean, I had a show where we did discuss about Bigfoot. So I've got a Bigfoot story. Anyway.
Awesome.
Excellent.
Okay. So where should we go next with this?
Well, do you have any questions that come off the top for you, Jenny, before we get into any other?
There's a huge, it's a huge topic with a
Yeah.
lot of different branches.
Exactly.
But something that I am familiar with from listening to other people's stories through podcasts is the MyLabs experiences that people have had. And so could you give us a little more information about what MyLabs are and what does that stand for?
Very good question. So a MyLab was a term back in my early career, back in the 2000s, that originated to which we now call the secret space program. But the MyLab refers to a military abduction. So initially, what was believed was that a contactee would have, after been placed back in their house, the military personnel using the same technology given to them by the Greys or these other off-world races that they've traded with would conduct the same abduction and interrogate the experiencer to get information.
Okay.
So that's what we initially believed. But now we find out that they're not interrogating. They're taking you for 20 years, what they call a career return program, as termed by Jason Rice. But these 20 and backs began back in the 1955. It was initially a 5-year career return program. Oh, wait, I'm sorry, 1950. Oh, so it was Operation Deep Freeze. That was, I think that was 1950. That's when Antarctica went off limits to civilians. So that was 55 to 56. But they already the Cabal already worked out a treaty with the Germans in Antarctica in 1950. So by 1955, that's when mind control. The memory eraser technology came online. So after the end of the 5-year term, all they had to do was erase their memories and then offer them another service.
So essentially, you have people who are being abducted or contactees. I would say typically that historically that's been connected to the Greys. But so what you're saying here is that people were being abducted and then upon their return being taken also by the government?
Not exactly. There are
okay.
Greys and humans personnel on some of these ships. So the Greys, the Draco, the different planetary corporations, and there's an enormous amount. I couldn't even. It was 240 races that are visiting planet Earth. So yeah, there's a lot going on, a lot of different agendas. So it's not just all like, oh, this is what is going on. There's a lot going on. So
and so then
different motives, right?
Okay. And so then for starting off for 5 years, they're working in the secret space program and all the way up to 20 years. And then they get returned in like a memory wipe. Is that what was happening essentially with that? Or
well, at first, yes, but they have the Germans have access to medbed technology. So at the end of the 20-year service, the abductee, the super slave or super soldier, right, could be regenerated. So it would place you in this regen tank. And Super Tech DSF William described that during his service, they would take a photo of his astral body once a week. And then at the end of the 20-year service, he would be pulled aside by this tall blonde named Gabriel. And he said, not all Germans are bad. So we're going to be erasing your memories and putting you back on the toilet. They took him when he was like 5 years old. And then in the 1960s. So now they can now also use a clone body. So they would play the original in stasis and the clone goes off the service.
okay.
So there's a variety of ways to do this. It's usually better with the clone in case it dies and they can't reanimate it. So there is that possibility, and some that has happened. And what happened? They'll put a clone back, and the clone would soon die because you need to have that soul in the body for it to last. But
so this whole thing is kind of interesting because it takes like a lot of the different things we've talked about in here. on this show. Things we talked about, like spirit, the soul, time travel, alternate dimensions, uh, extraterrestrial contact. It's like all of these things are kind of all working in unison. Like all the you kind of have to know a little bit about all these things to really get to comprehend kind of what we're talking about here tonight.
Yeah, how messed up things are. Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, so the Germans began this secret space program.
Hmm.
It began back in the 1850s in Prussia, so they didn't call it Germany then. And Gabriel Kruger was born in the 1820s. He used time travel tech around 1850 to go to the 1920s and set up Kruger Mercenary Corps. But and that's where we have this whole thing with Tartaria, even prior to that, where we had technology phase out of our existence, but in underground facilities, it still exists. So Portal Tech, we're accessing Ares Prima, Mars, planet Vulcan, and also different places on planet Earth and so on. And initially, the Germans started colonizing, or the Prussians, right? We'll just call them Germans for now. The Germans
Yeah,
colonized Mars, and according to Peter the Insider, it was a tropical planet. And then there was a there was this a group of cyborgs from about 400 years in our future went back in time to the 1600s, and they set up a colony. So when the Germans arrived, there were already cyborgs living on Mars. So the cyborgs dropped a cobalt bomb in the year 1900. So Mars was a desolate planet up to the year 1940, the 1940s, when the atmosphere was able to calm down enough to be able to breathe a little bit under certain enhancements. They would have a little oxygen mask if you had to run. But then, of course, genetically engineering super soldiers didn't need that later on. So yeah, we can go down Mars. You want to go to the moon? I mean, we can get so many different. But how about we go back to the secret space program? So Mars is being called moon as well. They found ancient complex where they were able to pressurize it and began to build out their base. So over the decades, the old facilities are not renovated. So there's always new facilities being built on the moon. So, okay, and let's go to the 1920s or so. Certain German scientists are working with the real Damen girls, and these real Damens are able to channel beings from Aldebaran. So now, I mean, they already had access to the portal tech, but they couldn't really figure out how to get these flying platforms, the Vril and the Hanabu craft. So they had the Germans had a secret organization called the Ananabra, right? So Ananabra was busy collecting artifacts all over the world, and they found these Vismas, these flying platforms in India, and they were able to, with help from the Damans, able to backward engineer, right, the technology to create the they even made a giant. They had a mothership, and so what they did, they would spin red mercury at 100,000 RPMs, and it would negate gravity, but it was also radioactive. So when these German scientists, occupant astronauts, showed up in the 1920s or mid 20s in outer space, right? So the extras, the mantis, right? The grays are like, oh, very. Well, they felt bad, right? Because there was immediate death sentence being on that craft. But yeah, but in the mid 1930s, I mean, the facilities started getting opened up on the moon, and then going on to all the way to the 50s, where the Americans started occupying. But so that whole thing about this 2001 Space Odyssey, you remember that they showed there was already they were building out the moon. That was basically a documentary, because by the 1950s there was already structures down. I mean, bases there.
So, like I said, this is kind of the first time we're getting into this on this show. So I want to kind of get clear up some things. So, is this something though that the U.S. government knew about from the get go, or when does the U.S. government like find out about what's going on in space at this time?
Uh, wasn't there a meeting in Balboa, Spain in 1918?
Okay.
With some grays, from oranges. Forgot, but they're more negative anyway. So yeah, there's different beams. I mean, there have been multiple craft that have crashed intentionally, right, to make contact with the Americans. And once a nuclear bomb dropped, there was a lot more interest. So
Yeah.
there was. I'm trying to remember. Was his Michael? Michael McIntosh. Yeah. So he said that he was taken from the early 2000s to on that craft, which had crashed at Roswell. So when the military police showed up out in the, it's not actually, it's like an hour drive north of Roswell where the crash was.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So when they showed up, there were dead grays, and there was also a human saying, "I want to talk to the president." So it took about 2 weeks to drive them across the country because we didn't have the interstate systems back in the 1940s, right?
Yeah.
So they had to, and when he talked to Truman, Truman is like, "Well, how do we how do we win the war?" And he said, "We dropped the atom bomb." And then so Truman is asking his staff, well, does anybody know anything about this atom bomb? He said, yes, there actually is something very secretive, and we're working on it. So anyway, but that's just one example. So we have time travelers, right? Time travelers coming from the future, trying to change the timeline. And we may be aware of, let's see here, was it John Trump who had access to Nikola Tesla's files after Tesla died and died, right? Actually,
Yeah.
story about that. Yeah, maybe. Anyway, so after he died, allegedly. And then, so time travel technology was used to go into the future. And that's when they saw massive destruction, a pole shift, nuclear war, 99% of the population died. So this whole 17 organization was set up to try to alter the timelines, and eventually I believe we are on the positive. We still got more work to do, right? But we're not free yet. But we are they're not going to allow the ET are not going to allow nuclear war or a pole shift, right? There's giant motherships parked in North and South Pole to stop the Earth from flipping. But okay, so we got
All right.
time travelers. Go ahead.
Oh no, I was just going to say. So that gives us an idea of what the government knows. I guess a quick question, and the question that's asked so often, and I know the typical reason, but why hasn't the so with all this happening, like we were saying earlier, possibly 240 different kinds of ET that are existing. We have essentially kind of what the way I envisioned, almost like Star Trek going on out there in space. Why at this point is it important for the world governments to keep that a secret?
Okay, so Gene Roddenberry had access to I forgot what the name of the organization, where that script was fed to them. So the Vulcans are real. Uhura was not a black lady; she was a Vulcan, as well as Spock. And Vulcans about 4 foot tall. And Captain Kirk, because I interviewed Jimmy Payne. He said he was Captain Kirk, Captain Jim Kirk. So,
Okay.
but a lot of the other stuff was make believe. There's 4 engines, not 2, in the original Enterprise, and it's the United Federation of Worlds. So the Enterprise was built by the Vulcans, and the Star Trek. I think it was the 4th one. Is that where they pick up the whale? So that was actually the Loch Ness. So when they lifted that airlift to bring it back to its family, and it was pregnant too. I don't know how it got pregnant because it was, but anyway, we're jumping around here. So you were asking about Star Trek. Yeah, so Vulcans are real. So are Klingons, and we're going to find out a lot of what we've been fed through the media and Hollywood are actually documentaries. We can
Okay.
different ones you want
It's almost like been a century of
propaganda,
like trying to or even like to desensitize it, like a slow, I guess because what Star Trek started in the 1960s, so that'd be a long time through media to kind of propagate what was going on. Just to get people to a point where they could accept what was happening.
Uh, yeah, I think there's positive groups even within these shadowy organizations that want to wake the public up. But if the government was to come out right now and tell you, by the way, we've been lying to you for since the 100 years about,
Yeah.
and then they would have to tell you the truth that there's advanced technology that could liberate and free humanity, and that wasn't shared with us. So med beds could potentially regenerate the body. I don't know, I'm not sure how many times there is a limit on that med bed technology, but there's other technology too, like free energy. We can have quantum teleportation and can go not just on this planet to off world too. The jump rooms, about the
Yeah.
ARCs, right?
No.
No.
Aeronautical repositioning chambers. That was astronaut Ken Johnson. He discussed that. I actually got an interview with him. I got him anyway. Okay. The point is,
Hold on. That actually is how I'm actually curious. So you got?
Astronaut Ken
Did you say you got to interview him?
I did, but I have not. There's so much content. It would be nice if your audience would buy a meditation cube or donate so I can hire some help. But anyway, the point is, we were talking about Star Trek. The original Aliens movies was handed to Senator Robert. Was it Robert Byrd? Is that from West Virginia?
Yeah.
So that was sent to his office. The names were redacted, but the cat was actually a gremlin. So, according to Jimmy Payne. So, and the Nostromo, that was a documentary. They was it Utami? I can't remember the corporation. I remember the name of that corporation. Went off world. They were told by the Greys to not go back. It's 150 light years beyond Zeta Reticuli, and that area of space was restricted. Of course, they go there on Hadley's Hope. So, anyway, we're jumping around here. Do you want it? What would you like to know now?
Okay, so we got Jenny had a question about the MyLab, so we kind of got that right, Jenny. So you're good to go with what we got going on there. Another question, kind of going back a little bit, was just to kind of talk about the wording there, because in the bio you called it Ultra MK MyLab. I'm familiar with those letters, but the other way around. I know MK Ultra. Is there a connection between the Ultra MK, or is that a completely different thing going on?
Okay. Oh my gosh, I should have this memorized. Okay, here it is. MK Ultra stands for the German word Menschen. I'm probably not saying that right. Sorry, butcher my German. In control with the K. So, according to MIB agent Jimmy Payne, MK Ultra stands for manufactured killers utilizing tradecraft requiring assassination. So, take what you want from that one, but everybody's got different definitions. Now, the word ultra refers to top secret, but Project Paperclip was working on an ultra soldier here in the United States. So there were different generations, starting off with the original Korean War veteran. They would have taken somebody who might have had Irish or Native American genetics and had enhanced psionic ability. So they would take their DNA and then make Gen 2. So the Gen 2 would have been around the 1960s. So they start using the psychedelics and different drugs to see if they can enhance their psionic power abilities, right? So the 1970s come along. They start using implants and wires, the HGEY. There was a hyperostatic, I forget what those wires, but they would put those, that was mentioned in the Heather report. And it would have created like a state of 0 point where they would activate their ability to can levitate, teleport, and have enhanced strength at this 0 point field. So come around the 1980s, we'll go from Gen 4 up to Gen 5. So I'm a Gen 5, by the way. I was Ultra Soldier. So again, these are created by Project Paperclip, my clone body. Going up to Gen 6 and 7, the clones become more and more cybernetic, a white milky substance. That was actually featured in the you remember in the Aliens movie when the android got cut in half, that white milky substance. Okay.
Mhm.
And then they find, well, there's still human DNA, but not as much. So they found if they go more cybernetic, the super soldier would have they would have enhanced strength, but they wouldn't have much enhanced psionic psychic ability. I hate to use the word psychic, psionic ability. So they found the Gen 5s were actually the more powerful super soldier because we were a mix of both. And like my clone body could lift an elephant, or telekinetically lift an elephant.
Mm.
Anyway,
Wow.
so we're going to be going on to Gen, I think we're on Gen 11 now, if I'm not mistaken. Now, that's just ultra soldiers. There's other types of super soldiers. We have the Lixodaten, which is made by the Germans from another timeline. The light soldiers, that's what it stands for. Gosh, I should remember the ones down in Antarctica. I don't have my notes in front of me. Oh my gosh. Oh, I should know this. So there's an underground facility connected to Black Shield. So they're working on these avatar bodies that have genetics of like a falcon with a human, or maybe if they want to go off world, they clone out the extraterrestrial being and then insert the soul. You have to have some of your own DNA, the human DNA, in order to insert yourself into these clone bodies. So
Okay.
typically, Black Shield.
Sense.
What's that?
Yeah, I guess that makes sense. In order to put like a part of a human spirit, you would have to have some of the human DNA in there to attach
The
it
original
to.
host. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So they work with Umbrella and also Monarch, but that's where you get the whole steampunk Tartarian timeline that was dated back to Tartaria. And okay, so and then we have, of course, the sacrificial lambs, and then oh my gosh, so we had ultra. Sorry guys, I don't have my notes in front of me. There was another type of the Kruger runners. So that's connected to, of course, the Kruger Mercenary Corps. So I also served in Kruger. Now,
Okay.
yeah, different groups there's a tremendous amount of variety of super soldiers because everybody's got a different agenda depending on what they need them for. So, and of course, I said earlier, the Alpha Squad. Okay, well, what would you like to know now?
Do you have an estimate, maybe idea of how many humans have been? I guess let's just say
30%.
currently are used in these programs.
Oh, what do you think? Maybe 5%, Jenny? Is it what number are you getting?
Oh, I have no idea. I was just wondering if you had like a guesstimate of.
Okay, so there's a large need for workers to just do general labor. There's a need for medics. There's a need for scientists, engineers, right? So it's not just the super soldier. So the super soldier is going to be a really tiny percentage of the assets that are used off world. But starting back in the mid 1950s, generally the personnel were 99% were used as slave workforce to build out the facilities on the moon and as well as on Mars, because was it about 250,000 Germans escaped from the Nazi regime?
Yeah.
So by the time the 1950s came along, they've already lost about 1/3 of their people from building.
I mean, most of them did. Because, after the war, the high-ranking soldiers, you had the Nuremberg trials, but, the average, German soldier from World War II, I mean, they went back home or wherever, whatever they did afterwards. And of course you have Operation Paperclip, which, a lot.
So it's created that was the ultra soldier side. Yep.
Yeah. A lot of Americans don't really even know existed, with Werner von Braun, and who was an SS officer and, an American hero all at the same time. On Disney and, Disney in America, so yeah, I mean, a lot of people aren't aware of that, but that makes a lot of sense. And I think the question there, even though we haven't really, I know you were still answering, kind of sorry for butting in there, but essentially, when we first started talking about this tonight, I was thinking about, the super soldiers themselves. But yeah, if you're essentially having to man a whole Earth Starfleet, uh, or at least the Earth version of that, that's a lot of workers. That's a lot of people. Like you said, that's
A
nurses
lot of
and
slaves. Yeah.
doctors and janitors
Mhm.
and cooks. And I mean, that's a lot.
But why didn't we just why I mean why wouldn't I'm just like it's just so frustrating. So if all this stuff is happening, why
Tell us.
didn't we just be open about it and like let people do it what they wanted to do with it
Yeah.
instead of it
That's
being all this secretive horse shit?
a very good question. So back in the 1930s, the NAZIs signed a contract with the Draco, and all the territory on the moon is taken by other extraterrestrial races. In order for the Germans to access a 10-acre area within Lunar Operations Command, which will later be called Lunar Space Operations, name for it, but they had to make this deal. So part of the treaty requires the Germans would donate some of their women to the Draco, which immediately got eaten. They later found out,
Hmm,
and then the
delicious.
Draco would be responsible. Would prohibit any advanced technologies being released on planet Earth. So that's when we had the suppression of free energy researchers and so on. They'll suddenly start dying because the Germans were allowed to have access, but everyone else on this planet wasn't. So back in the 1950s, when the Americans finally made a deal with the Germans in Antarctica, it was dictated that the Germans would be in charge of the technology, but the Americans can only have access to theory. So
Hmm.
that's why if you get a copy of Popular Mechanics or going back even though 20, 30 years ago, we have this great technology, but where is it now? Well, it's in the German skunk works, where it is. They've already accessed it. So that tree ended back in, I think that was 2021, if I'm not mistaken. So, or 2019. And at that point, we were kind of like in this brave new world, like what's going to happen now? And that's where, anyway, I guess we'll have to find out, right? So I want to tell you how it's going to end and now ruin the fun. But
So are the Dracos considered like lizard ETs?
that's a very good question. So they are about 12 to 14 foot tall. They have reptilian genetics as well as wings. So,
Oh, flying lizard people, even better.
yeah.
Yeah.
By the way, but I think dragons are actually really positive ones. Most. So these Draco, what happened is there was a battle between. Oh my God, was it Tiamat or even before that? The different federations created this black goo, and it was meant to infect the Draco to make them submissive. But then it became an infection, and then with this AI magnetic biopaste gel, what it does, it increases your IQ, but it removes your heart center, your connection. Now, Dracos, reptilians are naturally very aggressive beings. Okay, so being aggressive isn't bad. The problem is once you apply something negative like AI, take away their heart connection, and now they're aggressive and so abusive, and now we have a problem. So but thankfully, that treaty is over. I don't think the alliance is going to. They're not going to sign a contract on that one. And we have something called the Trimerative. So that is a group of other planetary corporations that some of them I just mentioned earlier that get together and they meet. So one of the members on the board is Space Force, right? So Space Force, we have so they're more, I would say, more positive. I mean, they haven't released the free energy yet, but hopefully we'll find out soon. Hopefully,
so could that Space Force kind of seemed to pop up out of nowhere? So maybe was with the ending of that that kind of treaty or whatever that took place, kind of maybe the reason why Space Force came into being all of a sudden.
Okay, that's a very good question. All right. Let's go back to the United States wanted to get access to this technology. They've already made their treaty with the Germans. And so the Germans are in charge. So the Americans want to have their own program. But really, all, as I was saying earlier, all nations that are connected to NATO have access. So, I mean, we have a French secret space program. Was it the French Foreign Legion? That one.
Yeah.
The British Space Navy. There's the Caballeros. I forgot what that was. The night sky in Spanish. And us, yeah. I think the French that was actually connected to the Germans when Germany invaded France. That's that. So they have anyway. Back in the 1960s, the cabal, well, they're still in charge, sent off their Voyager probes, and they saw tremendous amount of advanced development, even on planet Titan. It was a magnetosphere with a population of 50 million people, and then on the moon, Ceres, which is what's left of TMI, right? And there's colonies all throughout the universe. So the cabal, you would think, would become worried, right? So what are we going to do? So we're going to accelerate planetary destruction because they didn't want to be arrested. So they thought they can hide out in their underground bases and have their alternative 3 and just kill off the population, reset everything like we've been reset over and over again through Tartaria, right? So yeah, the cabal accelerated this plan, and that's when we had, of course, the alternative 1, 2, 3 back in the 70s. So by the 1980s, different faction within this would have gone back to the 1860s. There was an organization, Sonora Aerospace Club, was working on a prototype that would levitate, a craft that levitated. So there was different crafts that were created, but one of them was had conventional technology, looking technology, but it had advanced technology within it. So they showed that to President Lincoln, and eventually that program was going out of Louisiana, and then from there it became Solar Warden. Back in the 1980s, it was renamed, but Operation Winter Haven. So that would have been the guy who worked, Dyson vacuums, and also T. Townsend Brown, who were working on the levitation technology back in the 1940s, which later, So Solar Warden is now in play, and I served in Solar Warden, and on this particular craft, they had tokens. Okay, this is back in the 1980s, right? So they would have tokens to run all the tech equipment, and since I was in charge of this craft, I could arrange tokens to be taken out of my personal account, because what happened, they would send us on these missions to planets that had like a higher radioactive environments. So our personnel were slowly dying, and because they didn't give us enough tokens to run the med beds. And eventually what happened, there was a revolt, and I got punished. They sent me out to the battle. Oh my God. It was the Draco. There was a big battle with the Juno Draco, and I got captured. Yeah, I'm sorry. All those details are in my book here. But anyway, so that's it with Solar Warden. I would not say they're a positive organization, or at least they weren't in the 1980s. But going on here, so that's the Americans' version of the Germans. So there's like a this situation where everybody's very competitive, like who's going to be in charge. So, but the American, we're way behind the Germans, so there's really no chance at this point. But we can try to fix up our planet. That's what we can do.
Yeah.
That'd
Well,
be nice, wouldn't it?
we were kind of talking about that today. All kinds of things are going wrong with that. With the we talked about the plastics one. Everyone gives me a hard time because I've had so many news stories about where they're finding all the microplastics at.
And all that's going into our water supply. It's contaminate everything.
There is no water supply without microplastics now. They're even finding them in deep wells, like freshwater wells. It has microplastics in it. So, I mean, at this point, I don't know if there's any fixing that. I mean, it's there. We didn't think it was there. We knew it was in the oceans and stuff, but now we know that all the wells are contaminated. So, that's a.
Someone was mentioning Space Force was a department of U.S. Air Force. So we had U.S. Space Command, operate. Yeah, that was out of the Air Force. So, but Solar Warden exists out there, and they split off between two different groups, Radiant Glory and Radiant Guardian. One's in charge between the asteroid belt, which is where Tiamat is, right? Or used to be Tiamat, to the sun, and the other one goes all the way out to the end of our solar system. So there's a lot of activity to go out there, a lot of monitoring, and so Solar Warden. And eventually, I believe their technologies will be released through Space Force. It's like the public arm, the public relations department.
Mhm.
Oh, by the way, we've had this technology for almost like 100 years, but we're just going to give it to you now and just say, oh, we just invented it, right? But
Yeah.
anyway.
And that's the series. That's the one that has the blue light shining out of the crater there, right? Like when we flew by.
Do you think that's the water that's spraying out of the geyser, or something that has like a salt water?
Yeah, I don't know. I just know we sent, when we sent the probe that went out to Pluto, when they went by it, it took all these pictures of it, and there's like a crater, and there's like this bluish light like shining out of it, and they're like trying to explain it away, but then when they took a picture from another, they're like, oh, it's ice, and their light was reflecting off the ice. Except when they took the picture at a different angle, there was the light was still shining out of it. So I mean, you're gonna have to give me a better explanation than that.
Right.
So,
Well, Tony Rodriguez was on series, and he released some artwork. So I think it wasn't like New Amsterdam. They copied European cities on planet Earth and just created a pressurized cavity, and then they put up plasma screens on the ceiling to make it look like in Las Vegas on Fremont Street. They have this screens. So, but the German home world there has an environment similar to planet Earth. There's New Atlantis. So that planet is tropical. It's mostly a water world. So there's lots of different colonies in the breakaway. But the Americans were only just starting on that one. So okay. Well, let's see here. What else would you like to learn?
So, for your personal experiences, do you have the memories of all of the experiences that you've had, or do you access those memories through meditation, or how does that work for you?
Through meditation is mostly what I do. I get little fragments, and then just try to work with different remote viewing. And I have a lot of people in my network over the years that I've interviewed that were able to fill in some of the pieces to come up with this tapestry, as you would say, and over the years, we've learned more and more to the point where, I don't know, it's just so disgusting how people within our own species have treated ourselves. And that is something that we need to come to reckoning with. And we haven't done that. But
I think we're the worst to ourselves without even having to worry about.
Well, that's
Lord
kind
knows what else out there. We're already bad to ourselves. Yeah.
Well, that's like one of those things we were talking about. We were talking about, achieving like that Star Trek, thing, like, what's happening. But at the same time, like how are we, when we talk about disclosure, and we talk about how horrible the government is for not providing disclosure, but we still have a war between Russia and Ukraine. When we were fighting a proxy war, the United States is fighting Russia right now. This is just a proxy war. We have a war going on in the Middle East. Like, we have all of these things that happen. Like how we were just talking the other day, like these drones, people who think they're UFOs are shooting at them, right? So it's like, how, I don't know. Like, am I ready for disclosure? Are you ready for disclosure? I think so, but I could be wrong, but I'm still not completely sure that the average citizen of Earth is ready for disclosure. Because if we were, I think we would all be treating each other better, and we would be ready to like move forward and to explore and to, strange new worlds and all that stuff.
Certainly. And then we would learn that humanity was sold out to become slaves, and we were the product, human beings. So that's why our leaders maintain the secrecy because they benefited from trading with the secret space program or accessing the underground, the off-world facilities. I talk about this underground dumb on Mars where Henry Kissinger's personal assistant had a facility. It's like a radial ring of underground mansions. And there was this ritual I was forced to participate in. They actually built this complex right over the heart chakra of Mars, where a lot of energy comes out, makes it very energetic. And then they do these rituals. I mean, I'm sure they're doing it on planet Earth. Hopefully they can be stopped soon. I don't know.
Yeah.
Okay. So what would I've got some more notes here. Let's see here. We did discuss Lixodot, I mentioned that with the Black Shield. So we've gone over that.
I was
Rob-
wondering if you could tell us about your meditation technology.
Okay, sure. Okay, this. Okay. All right, so the Neo meditation device has 6 pyramids. They all point. Okay, that's like point inside the cube. So they're all inside so obviously there's 6 sides of the cube, so 6 pyramids. And then in the center of the cavity is the sphere. So the sphere contains different materials. I put in with this one, the skullum. So this one will have 13 crystal skulls. And then I have units that have, the monastery has 24 karat gold gilding. I gild all this and then put a blue diamond there. And there's a ruby. I put gold, platinum, silver, copper layers in there. So that one, you can get these at Neological Tech. Put these on your lap and meditate for about 30 minutes. Studies show you should meditate a minimum of 11 minutes to get into that deep, relaxed state of mind. But I like to do 30 minutes and just put this on your lap. Put a pillow on your lap and then put this on the pillow. And then you don't want to touch it. You put your hands side by side and it's device activated increase. Device, we trust you completely. Stargate, we trust you completely. And device activate Stargate mode. So, and then when you're done, device in session. So this gives it's a chi energizer. Anything that has pyramids or cones, right? That's why we have churches, synagogues, mosques all have these minarets or cones or steeples. And because it creates creates earth energy, or cathedrals, right? So this is like that's why I call it the monastery, the miniature monastery in a box. But this is the skull unit. So I've got a few of these left in stock, and yeah, you can go check that out. Get while you go to Neological Tech, purchase a copy of my book. So I'm out of stock of these right now, but I should hopefully get some more boxes in. I mean, boxes of books in soon. So,
cool.
Okay.
So for you with meditation, how do you find that the device helps?
Very good.
With altered state of consciousness.
So the device gives off chi energy. So chi is life force energy. Life force flows all throughout nature, right? It's in you. So this chi energy energizes you, and it also relaxes you at the same time by helping you release stress. So when you're able to release stress and to be in that heart center, you're able to integrate memories to relax or just help regenerate the body through releasing stress. So it helped cure my my PTSD. But I mean, I wouldn't say I'm cured, but it helped, right? So I do recommend it if you can want to get your hands on one. There's only a few left in stock, so there you go.
Excellent. And we have the link up at the top of the chat.
For
if you want to check that out.
Soldier and the Neological Tech.
Yeah, supersoldiertalk.com and neologicaltech.com. And if you're looking later on YouTube or listening to us on one of the podcast platforms over on iHeart or Spotify or whatever, all those links will be down below in the description. So make sure you go check those out. And if you're interested, go take a look. All right. Let's go ahead and reset for everyone. If you've come in since the beginning of the show, we were talking tonight to James Rink. We've been talking about a lot of interesting topics, all the way from the secret space program to super soldiers, all kinds of fascinating information. So, if you're joining us now, you might want to scroll back and and go in. For everyone else who's joined us tonight, if you guys have any questions, we have about 30 minutes left. So if you have any question at all for James, feel free to put it in chat, and we'll send the question along. And thank you for the questions and comments we've gotten tonight already so far. So there is a question, and I want to make sure I get to it, because if I wait till the last minute to ask, we'll run out of time. We had the news story recently of Las Vegas and the Cybertruck that exploded there, and Army Green Beret Matthew Leibelsberger, and the connection there. There has been a lot of information coming out. Connected, military connections. I'm sure you've kept up with this, James. The thing that's gone on with the emails that were sent, that he sent out, and things like that. Is there any connection between like black government programs and what was going on with him? I know something was coming out about like atrocities that Americans had committed in Afghanistan. But when we said we were going to talk about super soldiers, something kind of clicked for me to maybe ask you about that. Do you have anything to say about that?
About the whistleblower supposedly that blew up his Tesla at Trump Tower?
Yeah, in Las Vegas.
Okay, well, the only thing I did read what he but the only thing I could comment about is the drones supposedly being Chinese technology to have. What are they launched them out from the Atlantic?
Yeah,
because it's coming off near New Jersey. So these drones have unconventional technology, like anti-gravitic technology. Which, but anyway, so the Chinese are eyeballing the United States. The future timeline, the negative one shows where they invade, but there's a lot of bad stuff that happens on this. So I'd like to think that. And I think that's also what's going on with Greenland and Panama is Trump knows in the through Looking Glass, through his Uncle John Trump had access to Looking Glass technology. And I also think they had access to time travel technology. They could go in the future, had seen what happens when the Chinese invade. So the U.S. dollar implodes. The United States, there's a tremendous amount of unrest because of all the illegal immigration going on, and just creates and then the water runs out. So it starts in the Southwest, and then the unrest just grows, and then the United States just falls apart. And then a nuke goes off in the Alberta tar sands. So all the tar becomes radioactive, and our filters don't work. So it's pretty bad. But I think our republic will be saved from that.
Staying on the positive timeline.
Oh yeah.
There's a big focus on that. You talk about the positive timeline too, and it kind of makes me think about this whole idea of the things that we've been talking a lot about, which is like kind of the shift that's happening. I guess you could maybe draw a connection between moving to a different timeline, moving to a more positive timeline, and the shift kind of being the same thing. Is that something that you've thought about, James?
The shift changing the timeline. You mean our perception?
Yeah.
Certainly, I believe. Yeah. So we can manifest through positivity. So, I sometimes I go out there and listen to these gurus, and I'm like, no, that's this new age nonsense. So the way, like they say, oh, if you have a bunch of negative thoughts, that's not how manifestation works. You manifest through your heart chakra, or if you're a Montauk victim, your sex chakra. So one of those chakras, and then you can project that through love. You're able to manifest, right? But and the meditation device can help you with that manifestation process. But we all have our own meditation device within us. The pineal gland has microclusters of crystals that are able to resonate a certain frequency and connect us through this interdimensional realm. So that's why we become psychic, right? We can tune into this field through these crystals. But so many of us have had our pineal gland calcified, right, from fluoride or whatnot. There's a variety. Is it bromides? The bromide spectrum that calcifies the pineal gland. But anyway, so the point is, yeah, we can help integrate ourselves and bring more chi energy, body relax, and also manifest more positivity. So anyway.
Yeah, and I think right now that is like I don't know. I almost want to say we like need to dedicate like 5 minutes to the show every Thursday of just trying to manifest positivity, see if we can get positive things to happen, because it's just been a hell of a start to 2025. And I'm not a firm believer that a year has anything to do with going from one year to the other, but we definitely have been going down a little bit of a slippery slope. And there's so many positive things going on, but the negative always takes the headlines,
Yeah.
And so maybe there needs to be, maybe we need to kind of focus, even if it's just on the news, like finding one good news story, weird news story every week to kind of put in there. Because I think that needs to be a focus. It's the way we have to turn our attention to. We have to think about the things that we want to happen. We have to think about the good things and not focus on the negative as much. But sometimes these negative stories can be really interesting to talk about. That's the problem.
Yeah. Well, I think that's how you are able to become an educated person, is learn both sides of the story. So, like as a kid, I grew up as a Christian. I was in church, and they didn't teach us anything what the Satanists do. So, but if they did, then we would have known how to counteract it. So different organizations provide you a certain level of information, but it's up to you. I'm not saying you want to embrace Satan, but that was just using an example. So the Bible says the truth shall set you free, but a lot of Christians don't want to look at a certain thing. I'm not using that example, right? But it's a lot of people are like that, different religions, and ultimately you are able to determine what truth is through your own heart. Through we all have that inner. Well, I say all. Those of us that are not clones, right? Or clones that have no soul. But anyway, okay. So
CMC had a question for you.
Yep.
Do we know any of these super soldiers by name in news or elsewhere?
Certainly, we have who played the Hulk. That was a documentary. So just mix Resident Evil with a Hulk. So they could be converting Hulks to fight zombies, because Hulks were immune to Ouroboros, the zombie virus. That's one example. I mean, I've already mentioned Paul Serene earlier. I mean, I wouldn't necessarily consider him a super soldier, but he was in charge of Monarch. Tom Cruise, his clone was Richard Bay, the head of Umbrella. I said earlier, Kevin Spacey's clone is, it is the clone of Paul Serene. Same thing with Tom Cruise, Richard Bay. So I don't know who Gabriel Kruger is. I don't have that information, but there's other, so. And then in one of the shows that I've done in the past, this is controversial, but do you guys remember Nicholas Cruz, the Parkland shooter down in Miami? Mm-hmm. So he was that particular district there was the guy there in charge of that district was friends with Hillary Clinton, and she's high up in Monarch. So Monarch was giving his kids injecting them a bunch of cortexiphan, as featured in the Fringe TV show. So that's a lot of that is actually a documentary too. But the cortexiphan caused him to shapeshift into his altar. He had this lion face, and the weapons were popping out of his back, so he didn't even need to bring any weapons on campus. So that was just an experiment to see what would happen. So there's unfortunately we have a lot of people that are sleepers that were using these projects that are not being given the help that they need to stop this. And unfortunately, the news media doesn't really, they don't address it. The health professionals, their healthcare, right, mental healthcare, that they don't address it. So that everything's just being swept under the rug. And here we are. We're in this mess. We're actually on the witching hours.
Yeah. Well, yeah. The media, right? Whoever would have thought.
Well, I was told this in the future. we're going to be the new media. So like, I mean, if CNN or whatever still exists, Fox News, it will interview people that were in the secret space program. So don't be surprised if this becomes more and more mainstream. And I was also told too, a bunch of financial resources will be released to humanity. So we will be partying for a couple years until we can get back to fixing up our planet. I look
Nice.
forward to that party. Yeah, I want to do a party in Las Vegas if anyone wants to join me.
There we go. Yeah.
I'll make
Wonderful.
an announcement on my website. Yeah. So
Yeah.
the Super Soldier talk. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. Well, CMC just said traditional news media cannot be relied upon, and I think we know that to be true at this point. If you were not skeptical of the mainstream media, I don't think there's any way I don't see how anybody couldn't be now, and that's not a political statement, right or left. I just think any of the news media is corrupt beyond repair at this point. And we know that anything that it's constantly going into the UFO topics and stuff like that. They're constantly making a mockery of everything, and it's actually not. It's actually worse than you would think it is, because not only is actively going out and spreading misinformation an evil thing to do, but they actively go out and try to make a mockery and to make fun of people who are talking about real news. And so I think that's even more diabolical. So anyway, there's my feeling on that.
I should tell you the story. I had somebody contact me. He wanted a regression to get some of his memories as the first Black super soldier, and under Monarch or Paul Serene. So we did the regression, and he said he wanted to come out to Las Vegas where I was speaking at the 5D events. And him and his buddy came out, and I spent most of that conference sitting in the room doing interviews. So, I mean, I'm not getting paid for this, and I'm just volunteering, donating my time. And so his partner was like, he had this light on his camera, and he was constantly going back and forth. It's like, it was just really obnoxious, but I pushed through it. And then, so I'm really slow at releasing it. I've got, so 3 months later, he contacts me, says, can you release it? I'm like, okay, fine. And then the next day he writes me back. He said he's an asshole and he made it all up. And then he made this documentary using the interviews that I've done to paint a picture that we're promoting false memories, because he's claimed that he watched 20 hours of content to make up a story. Well, he listened to legitimate experiencers to make up this fake story and to create views. So this documentary quickly got 1.5 million views, and we probably had like 5,000 people showed up on the channel making fun of us, like, this person showed. So what I ended up doing is I had to block the name of that person and variations, because he didn't even interview me. So you're going to do a documentary about me, but you're going to make up a fake yeah, Keisha. So it was really painful to my heart chakra, because like and then his buddy posted a picture of getting a new Volkswagen right after that. So my friend Oksana, she's a medium or psychic, and what she said is the guy he was working for this other guy who got the Volkswagen, and that guy was like a lower level minion. Just they were looking for YouTubers. So there's a Hollywood executive manager, and then there's a executive, then a producer, and then finally the studio owner knows about the secret space program, and they don't like the work that's grassroots. So they use some idiot basically to come up with a fake story. Anyway, so yeah. And my channel is not monetized. I can't monetize. And I can just go on and on and on. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Keisha said, I'm really sorry that happened to you.
Yeah, I'm really well. I guess I took one for the team, right?
Yeah.
So, I wouldn't do it. I mean, when I went into this, I knew from the very beginning it wasn't going to be easy. So,
Yeah.
But
we do this with the witching hours too. If I could make $1 million off the witching hours, that would be great. But that's not why.
Absolutely.
That's not why I do the witching hours. I do the witching hours because I want to talk about things that interest me and to talk about the unexplained and the
Very good.
secret.
Talk to
and
people about cool stuff.
yeah,
Very
and
good.
so
Yeah.
that's the reason you do it. And I think that sounds like it's the same for you. Like you have a story to tell. You have your information that you want to put out, and you want to find out information similar to us about other topics, and that has to be what drives that. And then if everything goes well, then maybe one day I'll, as Hooker says, I can be a millionaire. We can manifest.
Buy our own damn Volkswagens.
You have your replicators, replicate some gold bars.
Yeah, exactly. So
with the
so
stick.
We got a little
I'll-
bit of time left. I
Yeah.
wanted to hear your Bigfoot story.
Sure. Okay. So I was at the Journey to Truth conference. It's over in Grafton, Illinois. That's across the river from St. Louis, for those who don't know. And at the Pierre Marquette Lodge. So everybody was saying that there was a Sasquatch out there. I'm like, okay, interesting. So I had a dream, a Sasquatch that night or previous night that it was like, are you looking for me? You want to talk to me? I'm like, okay. Like interesting. So later that day, there was this lady. She did a presentation about the Sasquatch there. They were called the Okundo tribe. So anyway, so so this was like 12 o'clock at night. There's a bunch of people around the campfire. I put together a group and say, hey, does anybody want to go up the hill? Let's see if we can call up Sasquatch to see if there's anything up there. And so we're going up the hill and say, the Okundo Sasquatch. They don't like to be called Bigfoot, by the way. That's considered like racist. Like, I mean, they wouldn't want to call us the little feet. The little feet.
Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway.
They can call me Little Feet. I'd be okay with that.
Yeah. Anyway, so and then we start. I was with my friend Chastity. She was also like a psychic too. So we go up this hill and Chastity disappeared. Like, okay, I guess she went back to campfire. And then we start hearing like these digital sounds, and then we start hearing like these chirping sounds, and then I see something huge, big. I mean, it was dark, but moving around the woods. And I'm like, everybody else was hearing digital sound. Okay, we're going back down the hill. Like, okay, very nice. So and that's when so Chastity she said that she went into a portal where she talked to the elder, and the elder told, because someone was commenting that we were drinking that night, and so the Sasquatch don't really like that. So she said that Sasquatch actually have a drink that does the same thing and that they don't mind. But they just said that oh my gosh, let's see here, anything else from that. So yeah, she's just talking to the elder, and I moving on. I had another. I worked with this guy under regression. We went out into the woods locally here in Morganton, North Carolina, to see. Yeah, he said that they build teepees in the woods, right? So the teepees, the wood structures, are markers to other Sasquatches. This is their territory, or it directs them to portals. There's lines. I don't know if you knew that, but so we talked to this tribe elder through the medium there, and he said that this tribe elder, because we were calling Sasquatch in the woods and we didn't see it. Well, actually, we saw a branch move, right? And this elder, his name was Tubo, said that what do you want? Because he was actually pretty cool. And he was like a 12-foot, 14-foot tall elder. They lived for about 1,000 years, but this guy was about 600. And so I said, did you hear us? And he's like, well, of course we not only can hear you, like all the tribe elders are here, like the all around the planet. There was like some tribe elder from oh my gosh, in Russia. Anyway, and then all over the world. So they want to know, what do you want? It's like, well, we want to be friends. And they said, well, what benefit do we have to be friends? I said, well, I don't know.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
they said we've been friends with humans in the past, but it didn't work out well because we're going back to, and even they said the Black Op people would abduct us because I'll get into that later. So Tubo said that the Okundo tribe are ghetto. So imagine going into a ghetto like city and say, hello, is anybody here? And then they start throwing rocks at you. That's what they said. There's a kundo. They're so ghetto. But for them, they said that they're more passive. They don't want to interact. They're very shy. They don't really want to interact. It turned out bad for both sides. But so they said, don't tell us where I found them. So I told you a city, but that's not where.
Yeah.
Okay.
So later on, I went to the Pacific Northwest, and my friend Lauren is also a seer, and we were out there in the woods right near University of Vancouver, and I was like, oh, there's some redwoods here. I wonder if this looks like Sasquatch territory. So like, we're out there, and then immediately she tunes into the Sasquatch, and they said that initially the Sasquatch people prefer Sasquatch and Squatch for the teenagers. There you go, CMZ. They said that initially they would protect the Native American tribes because in this show we talked about nefarious extraterrestrials that are abducting people. Well, that's been going on for a very long time, unfortunately. So these Sasquatch would live around the perimeter of the Native people, and they would protect them for being abducted. So what's gone on is the Black Op people have abducted some of the Sasquatch people, and of course they're trying to see if we can use them in the secret space program or super soldiers or whatever program. So their people got tortured, and they were forced into a deal with the government. So they are not allowed to show themselves to anybody unless, or if they do, they have to report in. So that's why it's very rare to actually see a Sasquatch. I'm not sure how it applies to hearing one, because I think that's common to hear one. But so, and they said that their people have been abducted, so they live in inner Earth. They have advanced technology, but they like to come out in the woods to play. So it's like us. It's a recreational. So, So what do you think about it? Does that confirm what some of your other people have said?
I was just watching a video recently of a medium who said that she had connected with Sasquatch, and I think the Pacific Northwest, and they had a name that they wanted to be called too that wasn't, Sasquatch or Bigfoot. Like the same thing. Like they didn't like the term Bigfoot either. So that's interesting that came up on here too. Yeah.
And just for those who are listening who didn't see the video, CMC Air Boss asked, do Bigfoot or Sasquatch have a preferred name for their species? And that's when James said Sasquatch or Squatch, I guess, for the younger ones. So answering your question, James, we had Ron Moorhead on here, and he's kind of known for having recorded Bigfoot sounds in the Sierra Nevadas back in the 70s, which are really compelling. And he wrote a book recently called Quantum Bigfoot, kind of talking about how they can kind of go in and out of different slip through dimensions and things like that. And so I think that because of the connection between UFO sightings and Bigfoot sightings, that's been a question I've had, is what's the connection between that? Because a lot of UFO sightings happen in the same vicinity as Bigfoot sightings. So
very, very good.
Yeah, I'm not sure, but yeah, definitely. I think there's I think there has to be something going on there. I think if it was just an undiscovered ape that was in the woods in North America and around the world, we would have some kind of evidence by now, whether it was scat or a corpse or fur and according to anything that I've ever seen, anytime there's been fur or anything sent off for testing, has come back as a bear or a raccoon or something like that. So I'm not saying that I don't believe that Sasquatch or Bigfoot doesn't exist, but I think there has to be some other piece of that puzzle on why a creature that big has stayed undiscovered for so long.
Yeah.
Very good.
Seems like it's all connected. Everything's connected.
We will be able to talk to guest Charlie Raymond about that on the 30th. He's him come on, and he's got new recordings that we can kind of look and see how those compare to Mr. Moorhead's and see how that's going. James, thank you so much for joining us tonight. I really appreciate all the information. Just an absolute mountain of information. I know we didn't even get through
Yeah.
a fraction of it. So I
Okay.
appreciate you kind of going a little slow for us because this is the kind of the first time we've talked about it on here.
Very good. So if you go to my channel, preferably on Rumble, I have a message from Dr. Martin Luther King. So that was channeled, and I had like 4 people work on that. Well,
Excellent.
including me, I guess I'm number 5. But and then so I do interviews every week. I'm currently working, of course, with Jimmy Payne. We've got we're going to work on the Predator series soon. So the Predator movies, that's also a documentary. So that took place in Cambodia on the first one. Rambo, that was John Rumble, Rambo. Anyway, we can go on and on, but
Excellent. And so we've already talked about supersoldiertalk.com and neologicaltech.com. Is there any other places where people can go to find you?
If you want to go to our conference, it's supersoldiercon for conference.com. And so that website, it's up and running right now. I'm told that you can purchase a ticket, but I mean, it'd be nice. Maybe somebody would want to try out. So that conference is going to be October 8th to the 12th in Orlando. So come on out. And we're also, we have about 20 super soldiers coming to speak. So it should be fun. You can also go to, there you go, Neological Tech. I already said that. Healing Soul Survivors .org is my nonprofit. So if you like this work, maybe you could sign up to donate monthly or just donate something. I'm actually short $500 this month. So before I got on the show, I was explaining what was going on, but I'd be thrilled if somebody could sense, like I said, anyway, YouTube doesn't help us out.
Yeah.
And then Rumble, they started adding a bunch of there's like an ad like every 3 minutes now. So, and then they reduced the ad revenue. I was getting 100, now I'm only doing $40.
My goodness. Yeah. There's those ads again. We were talking about at the beginning.
Yeah, I'm thinking about turning the ads off. So it's just, we don't get any support. But anyway, it's all good.
Well, once you can start putting them in people's dreams, maybe we can make some more money off that. I don't know if we got any volunteers.
Come on.
Will I get 100%
the witching
profit?
hours. You want to get weird?
Are you going to give me 100% profit of these dream ads or what?
3:00 in the morning, we got the witching hours running. Bigfoot, extraterrestrial contacts. Want to get weird? Yeah, there we go. All right. Well, thanks once again, James, for coming on. For all the people listening at another time in another place, we will see you all next time. But for everyone who's still hanging out here in chat tonight, we're going to roll over onto Twitch and see who we can go visit tonight. We got Sheepy on. We got Kiki Cannon on. We got Blue Light Oracle on. We have Weird Paul. I saw that Sheepy gave us a shout out a couple days ago, and I wasn't even in there. So so let's go see Sheepy. She must have been talking about us. So we'll go return the favor. We will be back next week, everyone. And you'll be on tomorrow night, right, Jenny? Friday night stream?
Yep.
Excellent. Wonderful. So come get your medium readings tomorrow over there. Get some readings. Do you know what else you're doing tomorrow? Just doing like regular show?
I think it'll just be a normal kind of show.
Okay. So come get some medium readings. Thank you, everyone, for hanging out. Thank you, Gandalf, the 3D. And thank you, everyone, for all the support. We're going to go raid out. We're going to go see Sheepy. Let's go make Sheepy stream weird. And we'll see you guys next time. I'll see most of you tomorrow night, and we'll be back next Thursday with the witching hours, and we'll be back talking about dragons.
Take
Good
care,
dragons. And we'll see you guys next time.